Hey guys, Gene Agustin with the Lending Collective.
Alicia Wright with eXp Realty.
So in this week's episode, we're going to talk about the ideal process of buying a home and how to structure a winning offer.
Yeah.
So
Here.
Alicia, what do you as a buyer, right? I want to buy a house.
Yes.
What is the most, like, what do you typically see a buyer go through when they decide, I want to buy a house?
Right.
What are they,
The
what's their
process,
yeah?
right?
What's their process?
We're going to talk about structuring an offer and the process of getting your offer accepted.
Yeah.
We want you to win.
Yeah.
We're here to help you win, and winning means different things in different scenarios, right? Winning means for you as a buyer, you ultimately get the house at the right price, right? So,
So what's that process
Yeah.
that you typically see a buyer go through, and we know it's wrong?
Yeah,
right?
so a lot of times what buyers do is they get on Zillow or they get on Redfin and they're cruising around looking at listings, and then they call the number that's on the listing for Zillow or Redfin, and they want that person to show them the house. That is not the listing agent. That is a Zillow representative, which is fine, whatever. If you connect with that person, phenomenal.
Yeah.
And so you go see the house, right? And nowadays we have something that we need to do when we show houses as realtors. We have to have them sign the buyer broker agreement, which is something we'll get into a little bit later. But they're going out, they're looking at houses, and one thing I see a lot of times when they land in my lap after that, when you come to me after all of that, I hear people say, oh yeah, we've been out looking at properties for a long time, and we're ready to really get in there. And I ask them the very first thing that pops in my mind, which is, have you been pre-approved?
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, we went through some numbers on our credit union website, or yeah, we talked to someone at our bank, and but they're not actually pre-approved.
Yeah.
And they're not pre-approved with a local lender who cares about doing this successfully. When you go online to a lender, it could be that they don't necessarily they're not motivated to have their name be out there. It's just Chase or it's just Golden One or whatever. I'm sure they want to do a good job, but we as local professionals care about whether we do a good job because our name's on the line and our reputation's at stake.
That's
so
it.
as I always ask them, have you been approved by a local lender?
Yeah.
And so what do you hear?
So typically what I see is, I want to buy a house, I should go talk to a realtor, and that's been kind of the common thread.
Yeah, that's what happens.
And the problem with that approach is when you go out to see a realtor, and let's say you don't talk to an Alicia, you talk to someone off Zillow, they start showing you homes, and then you fall in love with this house, then you write an offer, and then you get approved, they accept your offer, right? And then you submit to the bank to get an approval, and come to find out you don't get approved. You hear this story all the time. That's like shooting without aiming. Right? So the ideal process is, I want to buy a home. The first thing you should be doing is talking to a lender. You got to know what your numbers are. So my approach.
What do you do with a buyer like that? How do you get someone started? Let's say.
Yeah. So our system or our process is, again, we believe buying a home is the biggest investment you're ever going to make. And so
most people's biggest asset.
100%. So the first process, or the first thing we do, is we set up an initial consultation. And during that consultation, we're going to identify what their goals are in terms of budget for cash to close. Where do they want to be monthly payment wise, right? Because it's one thing for me to say, hey, you're approved for $1 million, but it doesn't mean you want to make that monthly payment. So I help them identify what's the maximum that you feel comfortable paying. Right? Because I don't want you to be house poor. And then from there, I prepare a cost analysis. We sit down, we do a 60-minute consultation where I walk them through based on their budget, based on their ideal monthly payment. Here's your ideal purchase price. We break down all of the closing costs. I want to eliminate all the surprises, right? Because when you start dealing with real money, when I'm saying, hey, you got to spend this much money to buy the appraisal or order the appraisal, emotions start to kick in. And so the more I can educate you about the process, what the costs are and the numbers, when the time comes to spend, you're like, yeah, Gene already went through it. And it's less emotional, and it's more, very, very logical, right? So then we also identify the maximum that they can get approved for. And then from there, if the clients decide, hey, we're ready, well, then we take the next steps. We have them submit an application. at the Lending Collective.
Can I pause you for a second?
Yeah, go for it.
So you have a conversation with people.
Yep.
You don't have a computer exchange where they fill out a bunch of shit online and then you decide whether you give them the thumbs up or not.
Yeah.
You're having a conversation with people, a person, you, the buyer, the people that we care about and are trying to help.
I mean, the way I look at it is I'm a consumer too, right? So I'm very consumer centric with my approach to lending. And so if I'm, as a consumer, if I'm just trying to gather information, if I go to you and you're like, hey, I need you to submit an application, I need your tax return, I need this, I need that, that's too much. It's like,
it's overwhelming.
Yeah, let's date first before you ask me to marry me, right? So that's how my approach is.
There's a rhythm to
let's just have a conversation.
Yes.
I've lowered the barrier to entry. Let's have a conversation about your goals, your budget, your timeline. From there, I prepare cost analysis, and then we get together in person or via Zoom. We do a full consultation. I walk them through the process. I basically eliminate all of the questions that come up during a transaction, right? We've been doing this long enough. Like, we know every question that's going to come up throughout the entire process. I cover that usually day one in the initial consultation. And I tell my clients, we're going to discover two things. The first one, if we discover they're ready, we talk about the next steps, right? Submit the application, submit the documentation where we verify, we do all of our due diligence.
Yeah, so you assess readiness.
We assess readiness.
And then you go through the process.
We go through the process of getting them fully approved. If we discover they're not quite ready, most lenders are like, okay, you're not ready. Let's connect later down the line when you are. And then that's it. That would drive me insane as a consumer. I'm going to you for guidance.
Right.
So what I do for my clients, if we determine that you're not quite ready yet, all right, cool. Let's start game planning. Let's put a strategy in place today so we know what action items you need to take so that you can be ready 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now.
Right.
I mean, I'm getting ready to close on clients that I met in 2018.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's,
Yes, we have that.
Sometimes that happens.
That's the way it goes
But
sometimes.
they found the perfect house, and we got docs out, and we're signing tomorrow, and we're gonna close next week. So
amazing. Yes.
But it took that long to prepare them.
Yes. Yes. So the process starts with an intentionality. And this is what you should come to expect as a buyer. This is the standard in which you should expect if you're going to go and spend the most money that you generally spend on something. You should be expecting this level of service and treatment. And as you go through that process, then we can look at houses. And I know sometimes you want to skip to what you might think is the fun part, okay? But if you put the cart before the horse, I can't tell you how many people I've taken out to show property to after we've been pre-approved, and they're all dejected and sad because they've been looking at $1.5 million, and they really, they're really only comfortable. I hate to use the word can't afford, but they're really only comfortable at $850, And then if we started that first, you probably would be thrilled with some of the ones we're seeing at $850 actually, because they're really nice homes too, right? So we get the pre-approval in order with a local lender that is willing to go the distance with you, okay? That cares about whether or not you complete the transaction, that complete the process, and will guide you through the whole process, okay? Right?
I can't stress enough the importance of getting educated about what it takes to buy a home. It just makes the whole process 100% better with more information. And so I challenge lenders out there, loan officers out there, do better, guys, right? The consumer deserves better. So at the Lending Collective, we take our pre-approval to the next level. So if a client is committing to working with us, we're not just issuing a pre-qual or a pre-approval. We're going to do a full credit check. We're going to do all of our due diligence. We'll do 2 levels of underwrite. We'll pre-underwrite it. Then from there, my team will send out a needs list. We'll collect additional documentation so that when we submit the loan to the bank, the approval's coming back. Typically, the conditions that a lender will ask for will be the purchase contract, the prelim, the appraisal, homeowner's insurance. When we have that clean of an approval, we issue what's called our fast pass approval. What that does for our buyers, it allows them to now be able to compete with cash buyers. And this will kind of lead into what we're going to talk about next is how do we structure a winning offer, right? So without a pre-approval, when you're out taking buyers, to look at homes, what's the only tool to make your offer look more aggressive? It's just
you got to throw down the highest
the
price.
highest price,
yeah,
right?
You got to be willing to hold down the highest price.
Yeah.
So,
Shit. Sorry.
That's okay. So let me just say, on the offer, what Gene was saying about the getting pre-approved, on the offer, when we're writing an offer, and it talks about your financing terms, there are 3 little boxes that we have to check one of them. The first one is we check pre-qualified, which means you really didn't send in any of your information and you didn't have a consultation. You just maybe went online or you talked to someone, they're like, you're pre-qualified. And you might get a letter for that. The second one is pre-approved. And then there's a third box that says fully underwritten. And when you go through this process, like Gene offers, I can check the box that says fully underwritten, or, fully pre-approved and underwritten. They've already had their file looked through by an underwriter, is that right?
Yeah, so like if you were a listing agent and you were looking at offers coming in, like what are you looking for?
When I'm a listing agent, I am looking at not necessarily the highest price, but do you have the ability to close? A seller wants to know, of course they want the most money, they want the highest price, they want the best terms, everybody wants that. But if someone promises and under-delivers and can't close, that's a painful process. And I've gone through it a number of times where a buyer, tries to buy the house and they just really can't. And it doesn't, like, there have been times where I've called the lender, I've done all the research, the background work, and
vetting them.
And I'm vetting them, but but they don't have the ability to close a deal. And a seller needs that above all else. They need to know you can close the deal.
And I think why that's important is, as a seller, the chances are they're selling this house and they're trying to buy another property. So the importance of an offer coming in and being able to close, the offer that the house that the seller is trying to buy hinges on their property selling. So again, the strongest offer doesn't always have to be the highest price. It's who can convey that, hey, my buyers, we can close. Right?
There was one house I listed last year, and we got multiple offers, and my seller did not go with the highest price offer. It almost looks like some realtors out there writing offers, and they're just like throwing this net out there with the highest purchase price. But as I vet all these different offers that have come in, it's like they don't have what it takes. They don't have the finances. They can't really afford that purchase price. So what our aim is to convey to you as guides through this process is you need to feel confident. And in order for you to feel confident, you need to talk to people who will confidently educate you and give you the information you need to make an offer, and to make the winning offer, right? So the other parts that I think are important, there's a few different things when we write the offer we're talking about. The offer is a 25-page document, some of which are disclosures, and most of it is not editable. Okay, most of it is legal terms written by lawyers that we can't change if we want to. But the editable parts, right, are the purchase price. We talk about purchase price. We talk about terms. We talk about timing. We talk about contingencies. And when you're writing an offer, we touched on this last week a little bit. If you have a house to sell, and you're writing an offer that's contingent upon the sale of your house, sometimes this can be a domino effect, and a seller might not want to take that risk. And that's why we talked about last week, the buy before you sell program. Program. It's a great program to get into. So when we're talking about purchase price and down payment, a seller is looking at, is the price acceptable? Do they have any money down? If someone's going up and beyond the purchase price and they're doing an FHA with 3% down, a seller may not look at that one as much as they might look at one that's at ask, or maybe even a little bit below ask, but they're putting a few $100,000 down. Or that's something that conveys confidence and ability to close when you have a large down payment. And don't be discouraged. Don't hear me say to you, those of you who don't have a large down payment, your offer is not going to be accepted, because that's not true. And we have many ways we can do that, right, Gene?
I love when my FHA buyer that's fully approved, fast pass, is winning against cash buyers because we took, with my agent, with Alicia, we took the time to strategize on how we're presenting the offer. And then me talking to the listing agent, conveying where we are in the loan process, how we communicate throughout the entire transaction. Really what we're trying to do is convey strength to the listing agent, because the more we can sell the listing agent on our ability to close, yes, the offer amount is important, but it's not as important because now they're like, oh, the agent is confident that we can perform. The agent's confident that we're going to communicate with them throughout the entire escrow. When they present that offer to their sellers, they're like, yeah, this isn't the highest offer, but I'm 100% confident that these guys are going to perform.
Yeah, these guys are serious. They've done the work. They've laid the groundwork, and they've laid the foundation, and they're ready.
It's the best feeling when I get a FHA client being cash offers, because again, we're doing a lot of, and my clients deserve it. They're doing a lot of the legwork up front. But if you're serious and you want, and I'm super competitive. If my client falls in love with the house, I'm going to do everything in my power to help them win it. So,
I haven't. I'm not going to say I never delivered flowers along with my offer to listing agent or a Fleming's gift card.
There you go. There you go. So,
we want to make our buyers look good, right, on the buy side. And the other thing I wanted to mention, time frame is important. We need to communicate with the seller and the listing agent. What is your time frame? Are you able to move out, right? Are you moving out right away? Are you going to need a rent back? And sometimes arranging a rent back at no cost to the seller, if you give them 30 days to stay in their house, with 30 days or less to stay and move at no cost, I mean, that's priceless. Because if they have to get an interim place, if they have to, they're planning an interstate move. It's so complicated when you're moving out. What a gift to be able to stay and be able to take your time and pack and move. And the reason I say I often do it at no cost is because when is the first payment due? Usually.
It's usually, so like if you're closing, if you're closing at the end of the month, the first payment for the new buyer could be 2 months down the line still. So
so you won't be making your payment for maybe up to 2 months. So if the seller stays there an extra 30 days, 2, 3, 4 weeks, it's not really costing you anything. It makes your offer look more attractive.
But I think like what you said, that you communicate to the listing agent or you ask the listing agent, what are you looking for? What's your seller's time?
What does the seller need?
I mean, that's huge, because I don't think a lot of agents do that. And the reason why that's important is it allows you to strategize how you're going to structure your offer so that it's more accommodating to the seller's time frame.
Right. And we have a mixed bag market. I want to say that right now. It's a mixed bag because some listings are selling in a very competitive way. There are multiple offers, and you have to be competitive as a buyer in those situations. And after doing this since 2001, I know which ones those are. You know which ones those are, right? They're the hot ones that everybody wants. And if you're looking at one that's been on the market a little while, that doesn't mean that house couldn't have been that hot property. It just means that maybe they didn't price right in the beginning. So that's a different strategy. If you're coming in and the house has been on the market, maybe you can get some savings there. And that's what we're seeing in this market. How some houses are hot, some houses you can get some deep discounts, right? Deep savings. The other thing I wanted to bring up as part of an offer, when we're structuring the offer, is we talk about contingencies. And I want to say, never remove protection unless you understand what you're doing. And part of why we're guiding you through this process is because if you remove a contingency and you don't know what you're doing, you're going to lose some rights and protections along the way. Some people will write offers and they'll make it completely non-contingent because they're trying to be competitive, but then they don't actually do that. Like you can still get inspections if you remove the inspection contingency, but if you're out there saying you're going to have no contingencies on inspection, that means you're taking it as is and you're not going to ask the seller for repairs. There is some leverage you can have as a buyer there, to ask for repairs. But if you're writing it non-contingent, it's possible you might lose out and the seller might cancel on you if that's your strategy.
So when you're writing an offer, really the 4 things that you're going to use to try to make your offer look attractive is the sales price and then the contingencies, right? So typically you've got your property inspection, your appraisal, and your loan contingency.
Yep.
So with our fast pass approval, if you're going through the full underwrite process, in a really competitive market like the Bay Area, for example, you know, we have to go through all of the due diligence because no one's going to consider your offer if you have a loan contingency in place, right? So we want to position our clients that if you're willing to risk your earnest money deposit and release your loan contingency to make your offer look attractive, we want to make sure that we have a bank saying, hey, we're ready to fund this deal, assuming we get the contract, the appraisal and the prelim. So, you know, doing all that legwork and getting your loan, you know, fully vetted allows your realtor to not just rely on the sales price, but you can start adjusting the terms. Like, you know, instead of what's a typical loan and appraisal contingency, 17 days?
Yeah, the boilerplate purchase agreement, California purchase agreement has 17 days for all contingencies. Yeah. And so oftentimes we'll shorten them. Yeah. We'll shorten them to 10, 12, sometimes 7 days. Yeah. Sometimes if we know the property's undervalued, you know, we might risk the appraisal contingency. Yep. But a lot of times if you remove one, you're still gonna have other ones in place, right? So if you remove, and if you know you're not gonna ask the seller for anything, and you know it's probably gonna appraise, and when I say you know, I'm saying you're being guided by someone who knows what they're doing, then you still have loan contingency in place. Yep. And we talk a lot about contingencies because in the process of writing an offer and being an escrow, there's a process where we sign to remove those contingencies, right? Once we sign to remove those contingencies, you're saying you're going to go through with it, right? And if you cancel after you sign to remove those contingencies, you know, I'm not a lawyer. I cannot tell you legally what will happen, but I will say the contract lends towards the seller being able to keep your deposit. Yeah. Or you may forfeit your deposit. I
mean, that's really the purpose of the contingencies is to protect your earnest money deposit, right?
Yep. And your ability to move forward on the property with confidence. So, you know, we have those contingency periods, you know, they can be 17 days like the contract says, but when we're writing a winning offer, a competitive offer, we can absolutely get those things done. Yep. Gene, what's the shortest turnaround in a loan contingency?
I mean, so
obviously if we have everything done,
if we have everything done, I would say majority of my clients that have the full fast pass approval, we're going in with no finance contingencies. If they're going FHA or 5 or 10% down, we may keep the appraisal contingency in there just in case we get a bad appraisal. Yeah. But I have one right now where my client's putting, a substantial, I mean, they're putting like over 30 to 40% down. We waive the appraisal contingency because even if the property came under list, there was no change in terms. So I'm like, we can get rid of it. So we got rid of the appraisal contingency. She had no loan contingency. She had property inspections because it was an older home, but we weren't the highest offer. Yeah. And we still won the offer. We still got in a contract. So again, it's not always about the highest sales price. Yeah. It's identifying what is it that the sellers need. Right. And structuring your offer to be the most accommodating for the seller. Right. And
in a very competitive situation, I will use an escalation clause. So in the offer, I might write, our buyer is willing to pay $1,000 over your highest bid. Offer. Up to a certain amount of money. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I won a bunch of offers that way. Yeah. So these are some serious strategies for you to consider if you're already in the process with someone. Ask questions. Ask questions to your realtor, ask questions to your lender, and bring some of this to their attention if you're feeling like you're not getting that level of service that you deserve. And if you are new and you're just getting started and you want to talk to us more, follow our next episode. We're
DM us, leave a comment. We'd love to connect. We would love to be a resource for you guys.
Yep, and we're guides. We're guides with the collective 50 years of experience. We're here as guides for you, and these are our field notes that we've taken over the years.
That's right. Yeah. So field notes.
Yeah. So follow us for next week's episode. Give us
a thumbs up.
Not sure what we're gonna bring up yet, but if you have any ideas and you want to submit them to us, something you're just dying to hear about, let us know. But we'll be back next week.
Yep. All right, guys.
Committed to 52 weeks of
52
topics.
weeks. Woo!
So,
all right, guys. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you next week.
bye.
Bye.